Thank you, Gary and the ISSS for the invitation to speak at this symposium. So, talking about this paper, a scientific solution to the Narreme, the unit of story, via the meta-science of Ev-Cult and the meta-science of system science. I'm Velikovsky of Newcastle, Professor of Ev-Cult. I'm a meta-scientist. My religion is scientific Methodist. So science can be funny too. Outline of this talk, I'll talk through this paper, a scientific solution to the Narreme, the unit of story. This is part one of the talk. It didn't all fit into 40 minutes, but so it goes. So, some ISSS history, formed as Society for Advancement of General Systems Theory. Everyone here knows this history. These characters here, and this is a shot of the ISSS this year in 2024 at one of George's symposiums on systemness. And in the textbook for Ev-Cult, elements of Ev-Cult, we have this diagram on page 150 showing when different domains branched off from philosophy down the bottom there, with the roots of science in philosophy with Aristotle and the gang back in 300 BCE. And then we see over the next 2,000 years different fields form, fields of scholars for different domains as they become scientific. And these are the dates of the first international conference for each of those domains. So systems science was in the 50s, or systems theory. There we go. We see that little branch there. And let's zoom in a bit closer on this tree. So that's a bit of a closer view. There we can see the first SGSR systems conference there, 1955, von Bertalanffy, or von B and the gang. At any rate, so cultural evolution. And this is what that tree diagram is mapping. These are the dates. You've got the year of the founding publication in the different domains, biology, chemistry, medicine, law, etc. And then year of the first international conference, which in some cases are over 1,000 years later, sometimes 100 years later, sometimes less. And there we have systems there. Let's date the founding publication to Outline of General System Theory by von B in 1950, the first journal article there. And then 5 years later, they kicked off the conferences. And I'm sure everyone here knows the mission statement of the ISSS, previously Society for General Systems Research. There they are there, the 4 goals, or main goals. And of course, they also appear in General System Theory, or GST, by von B in 1968 on page 15. There we have it there. Those 4 goals of the society. And interestingly, at the end of that same introduction on pages 28 to 29, von B lists out these hierarchy of systems levels. So there's 9 of them there, derived from Balding's work. And the good news is Ev-Cult reduces them all scientifically to the fractal whole on parton. So we have a diagram like that. That's figure 17 from that Narreme paper, the Ev-Cult worldview. So down the bottom, strings moving up through quarks and atoms and protons, people up to planets, universe and multiverse. Using the three laws to determine the levels, the three laws of fractal whole partons. Because Ev-Cult reduces all systems to a simpler structure, the fractal whole parton. So that's figure 17 from a scientific solution to the Narreme, the unit of story. And there's a symbol for fractal whole partons and the three laws of fractal whole partons from Ev-Cult or Evolutionary Culturology. So those 9 systems level all can be reduced to one type of thing. So, good news, perhaps. The meta-science of Ev-Cult is a universal scientific set of 1 units, 2 scale levels, 3 laws. Well, there's more than 3, but let's stick to the first 3 laws of fractal whole partons, evolutionary mechanisms, models, and that leads to the unity of science, or the idea of consilience from E.O. Wilson's book in 1998. And there's figure 26 from the Narreme paper, the unity of science enabled by the meta-science of Ev-Cult. So even the arts and humanities falls under the purview of science. Once you've got your units, scale levels, laws and models and etc., you can start controlling and predicting things. So it's one standard set of those things, units, levels, laws, etc., across all 50,000 plus domains. So that's diagram 26, or figure 26 from the Narreme paper. So there's figure 19 from the Narreme paper. Down the bottom row we have the micro or smaller individual sciences. So quantum physics, classical physics, chemistry, geology and astronomy, biology, psychology, sociology, anthropology. Then moving up a level we have the meta sciences such as system science, of course, and information and communication science, computer science, creativity science, the science of cultural evolution, etc. And above those at the macro, meso and micro level, incorporating the other 2 levels, or integrating the other 2 levels, we have evolutionary culturology, a meta science. So it's on a scale level above and contains the others within it. And the reason is you can study the bottom row of domains from quantum to classical physics through chemistry, etc., biology. You can study all of those as systems. So that's why system science is a meta science, because it uses the same framework to apply to many domains. And likewise, you can use creativity science to study the emergence of new, useful and surprising units in any of those scientific domains, classical physics, geology, biology, anthropology, etc. So yeah, you've got your individual sciences on the smaller scale level below. In the middle scale level there, the meta sciences such as system science, and the top level there, Ev-Cult, a meta science. It's good news in one way, you get the unity of all knowledge, but it causes other problems, of course, as does any solution to a problem. Then you've got to go around communicating it. Some people don't want to hear it. Anyway, next. So that must be figure 19 from the paper. Next. So that's just another diagram there of the same 3 scale levels, individual sciences down the bottom, meta sciences in the middle, and meta science at macro, meso and micro scales up the top there. So fractal hold-on partons all the way up, down and sideways. So for all domains, now we're getting to the nub of this paper. The hard scientific problem was, what is the structure and function of the unit of story, or they call it the Narreme, sort of a unit of narrative. But that also has a deeper problem behind it, namely what is the structure and function, scientifically speaking, of the unit of all culture? Because once you've found the unit of story, or the Narreme, since stories and Narremes are units of culture, if you can nail that down, you've also solved it for all of culture in any domain, not just narratives. So music, television, video games, films, languages, etc. Next. So that's basically the problem that the paper is reporting a solution of. So at the back of the article in the appendix, it has 50 quotes on the hard problem of what is the unit of culture, what's its structure and function, from Aristotle through to the present day, because solving the unit of culture seemed to be one of these ones. That also was a unit of culture, or a fractal hold-on parton. It's some opening bars of the theme to Mission Impossible. Anyway, so you don't know me from a bar of soap. So there's me, and there's a bar of soap. And the first rule of EvCult is you do not talk about EvCult. So in EvCult, 5 features of a system, or minimum requirements for a system, are inputs, outputs, boundary, an algorithm inside, and it's part of a larger ecosystem inside a larger ecosystem. And both those units there, both Von or Velikovsky of Newcastle and that bar of soap, are systems. So there's an isomorphy, they share that in common. And we can reduce systems to fractal hold-on partons with the 3 laws. And by the way, this is now a fractal PowerPoint talk, because that there on one slide is the first 6 slides on a smaller scale. So this PowerPoint talk contains part of itself as a whole within it. So there's a bit of a mind bender. Good old fractals. What's a fractal? It's something that's self-similar on smaller scales, or bigger. Depends which way you're looking, smaller or larger. So anyway, I'd now like to quote from Wheeler's It from Bit paper, 1989, or I won't quote from it, but I'll talk about it. So from information emerges energy and matter, but information is instantiated in energy and matter, so you can send a signal with sound waves, and that's energy. Or you can write it on a piece of paper or type it on a computer screen and print it out, etc. So information is instantiated in matter. As far as we know, the universe is made out of information, energy and matter, and so are systems, and they also process information, energy and matter. So in EvCult, information equals culture, and information goes through everything, so culture goes through everything from quarks all the way up to universes and beyond. Systems are energy, matter and information, and they also process energy, matter and information as throughput. All systems transmit and receive energy, matter and information. And information exchange we call communication. So all systems, from electrons and atoms and cells and bacteria and organisms and organs and ecosystems, etc., communicate, they exchange information. So you can see where the culture comes from in evolutionary culturology. It's evolutionary information, basically. And there's that It from Bit paper by John Archibald Wheeler, if you'd like to read more on that. So, indeed, the hard problem was, what's the structure and function of the unit of story, the unit of narrative, or they call it the Narreme. And behind that, what's the structure and function of the unit of all culture, bearing in mind culture equals information. So animals have it, organisms are filled with information at the cell, tissue, organ system, organism level. Culture goes through the lot. And culture or information comes in three forms: ideas, processes, and products. So a proton is a product, a person is a product, a planet is a product on this view, derived from Popper, but let's not go too deep down that alley yet. So there's 3 unit scales in this paper, in the title of that paper there. We've got the letter A, a scientific solution, etc. So that's a micro scale, the scale of the alphabetical letter. Then we've got a medium-sized unit, a word. We're pointing at the word Narreme there. And we've got the whole sentence or title or phrase, a scientific solution to the Narreme, the unit of story. So we've got 3 unit scales in one there. So this is the sort of thing EvCult does, is look at units on different scale levels. And when they become systems, we go down to the meta-science of systems science to examine what they're up to and how we can predict and control them. First, let's have a visual metaphor of a fractal hole on parton. Good Lord, what the hell is that? It's actually some sawfly larvae, but it's basically a fractal caterpillar, right? It's a big caterpillar made of lots of little caterpillars. As far as I know, that image is not AI generated. It occurs in nature, like when ants form into a raft if they're in rushing water, etc. Anyway, next. Here's another visual metaphor. Some big birds made out of smaller birds. They're fractal hole-on partons, and they obey the 3 laws on all scale levels. They integrate upwards into a larger unit. They compete and cooperate with other units on the same scale level, and they command and control downwards the smaller units which are inside them. So there's a few more fractal hole-on partons just to get you thinking along the right lines of what you're supposed to be looking for. People usually have to learn to see fractal hole-on partons in the same way they have to be taught to see systems if they don't know how to go looking for them in the first place. Here's another one. I think that's some starlings being a complex dynamical system and a fractal hole-on parton. And next, there's another one. There's a fractal hole-on parton of systems theorists and scientists. They obey the 3 laws. There's another one, a spiral galaxy made out of 3 smaller spiral galaxies. So by now you're starting to get the hang of how do you see fractal hole-on partons. What have you got to do looking between the different scale levels? We have a thing called the fractal hole-on parton lens. So you're basically looking for things that integrate upwards into a larger unit, compete and cooperate sideways, and control and command the smaller units which are inside them. So we use that lens to go find the units in any and every domain. Next. And here's another visual metaphor. I suppose everyone knows what an IFS or iterated function system is. That's when the outputs of the system come around again and become the new inputs for the system. So in iterations, and that's a good algorithm where great complexity can emerge from sheer simplicity, like so. So the outputs are becoming the new inputs. Turning into some very lovely fractal patterns there on larger scales. But when we zoom back into the smaller scale, it's all just made up of those little lines, which was the first thing the system started with, or the algorithm. So, good example of how great complexity can emerge from simplicity. And so there's figure 17 again, the Ev-Cult worldview from that Narreme paper. Another visual metaphor or model, scientific model. And what are we talking about with scale levels and units? Let's have a look at this one. Cells, smaller units, chromatin, nucleosomes, genes. These are all fractal whole-on partons on different scale levels. DNA, A's and C's and G's and T's. More fractal whole-on partons on different scale levels. They're also systems, of course, but on simpler levels they're fractal whole-on partons. Next. And again, let's look at some scale levels of different fractal whole-on partons. So information, energy and matter throughout all these units, and all obeying the three laws. The Death Star, that's fictional, but whatever. So some good units on different scale levels there. Fractal whole-on partons all. And again, let's look at scale levels with different units. Fractal whole-on partons. Earth system going past, more systems, more fractal whole-on partons. units on different scale levels, fractal, whole and partons, each obeying the 3 laws. Fun to get a sense of awe looking at really big things and small things. Anyway, go one higher, there's a multiverse. Anyway, so scales and levels. This is a joke, but gets you thinking in fractals. Benoit B. Mandelbrot, the B stands for Benoit B. Mandelbrot. I find that funny. Another metaphor, you'll see a picture at a distance, then you'll get closer and you'll see it's made up of smaller parts, which are also wholes, and you get up real close and just look at that top right corner and it's a face made of faces. So again, fractal, whole and partons everywhere. Here's a numerical metaphor. This is a 1 made of 1s. This is a 2 made of 2s on different scale levels. They're all fractal, whole and partons too. So when you're looking at it from the top, it just looks like one thing, and then you can do an exploded view and then look at your 3 laws. So here's one unit that we found out in the field, but when you open it up, you find that inside it's got 3 smaller things that make it up. Look like quarks actually, but different units on different scale levels. It's just a teaching aid we use in EvCult sometimes. Next. And this is when we peer through with X-ray vision and see the smaller units on smaller scales. This mathematical object goes back to Leibniz, but anyway, there you go. So, tools of EvCult. Everyone here is used to the systems lens. So we go around looking at systems with their inputs, outputs, boundaries, ecosystems. And so minimum requirements for a system in EvCult, you've got your 5 features: inputs, outputs, boundary, algorithms inside, and they're inside a system is inside a larger environment or ecosystem. So in that diagram there's X's and Y's on the left are the inputs into that system, the circular thing in the middle. There's an algorithm inside it, a formula, X plus Y equals Z, and then an output comes out which is a Z. So it's added an X and a Y together and throughput that and output it as Z. So that's what you're usually looking for with the systems lens at its most simplest. And then depending on what type of system, mechanical, organic, information systems, etc., you can go to a different systems science model, of course, to figure out the details. Next. And so, yeah, there you have your recursive systems, because there's the 5 features, but then the larger ecosystem inside that, outside, there's a smaller system inside, which just appeared in the middle there. And so you've got your larger ecosystem with its 4 things, and then a larger one, and that keeps going up and down from in scale from quarks up to multiverses. Here's another example of a system output and input. And here goes a fractal whole and parton, a unit of culture. Solar blast heading towards the system of Earth, which is a subsystem in the solar system. A few inputs there and a bit of backdraft, more inputs. And what does that look like on a smaller scale? It looks like that. And when you get down to our scale, humanimal scale, it looks like that. Aurora. Very pretty. Anyway, system inputs and outputs. The outputs of one system can become the inputs of a smaller system inside it, etc. So the tools of EvCult, you have the fractal hole-on part-on lens, which makes systems a bit simpler. So we're looking for things that obey the three laws to find their scale level. Integrate upwards into a larger unit on the scale level above, like a sun and planets and moons integrating upwards into a solar system, and then competing and cooperating with units on the same scale level. So solar systems compete for resources and space, etc. with other solar systems, and then commanding and controlling the small units inside. So the solar system controls the orbits of its planets and things. There's another way to look at the three laws and the different scale levels. There's that mathematical object from Leibniz again, the infinite fractal tricircles. So yeah, you're just looking for the three laws and you'll find a unit, whether it's a letter, a word, a sentence, paragraph, book, or in the realm of stories, an action, or bigger than that is action towards a goal. And then you have scenes, sequences of scenes, acts in a story, and then the whole story. So there's your first three laws. Integrate upwards, compete and cooperate sideways, command and control downwards. There it is again, written out a bit more. There it is again, a bit more condensed. And we've also indicated the H in whole-on is one unit of culture. Then there's a bigger scale level unit, the word whole-on, and then there's the whole phrase on a bigger scale level still. So you're seeing across scales all at the one time, but we hardly ever notice this because we're just so used to reading since we were kids, etc. So use the EvCult lens to find fractal whole-on partons here, there, and everywhere. And then you can measure and count them and do other cool stuff with them. So there we have the fractal whole-on parton. The first three laws of fractal whole-on partons: integrate upwards, compete and cooperate sideways, command and control downwards, inwards. And we can combine two old things to get a new thing. So on the left, we've got the fractal whole-on parton diagram. In the middle, we've got the first three laws diagram, which is also a fractal whole-on parton. And if you combine them, you end up with the figure on the right. So combinatorial creativity. And what has all that got to do with a scientific solution to the Narreme, the unit of story? Pretty much everything, because we use the same EvCult fractal whole-on parton lens to discover the units and scale levels of stories, so we can examine their structure and function scientifically. So there's an example of a diagram from the Narreme paper. You've got your small scale levels of, say, a scene as a unit. You know, there might be 91-minute scenes in a 90-minute movie that you watch. And then going up a scale level, we have a sequence of scenes. So there might be the chase scenes and the fight scenes and the love scenes and the exposition scenes, you know, sequences of scenes. And then a level above that, level 3, you might have an act in a story. Some stories have 3 acts. Shakespeare plays have 5 acts sometimes. The EvCult PhD showed 12 acts in feature films. Anyway, and then the level 4, the bigger level, is the whole story as a unit. So those units all obey the 3 laws of fractal whole-on partons. So that's the unit of the Narreme. And it goes larger and smaller, of course. So that's figure 1 from that Narreme paper, showing those. There's only 4 scale levels shown there, but it goes up and down in scale. For example, here's a figure 2 in that same paper. This is taken from Elements of Ev Cult, showing up top we have the largest set is the cultural domain of narrative, so that's all narratives, any story in any medium. And then smaller set is the different categories of narrative, whether it's factual, fictional, or a hybrid. They call it faction. So half true and half made up. Within that we have subsets, the narrative genre, whether it's a drama, story, a romance, or a horror, or a science fiction, or a comedy, or can be combinations of all of those, of course, combinatorial creativity. Story, within that you've got the basic algorithm for story is an agent with a problem and attempted solutions. So you have agents with their goals, the actions they take, and the result. Smaller than that, you have acts as the unit. Smaller than that, sequences of scenes. Smaller than that, next level down of the fractal whole on parton is a scene. Next one down is a story beat. Within that, they're made up of actions, and they're on smaller scales made up of events or moments. It could be still frames in a movie, for example, or pixels if you want to go smaller. Anyway, see Elements of Ev Cult for more detail on that. Here's figure 3. Now we're looking at transmedia stories. You know, when you've got, say, Harry Potter, which might have novels, films, and games, and they tell the story across those different communication media. So here we're looking at novels, films, and games. So a novel and a film and a game all make up a larger transmedia story universe, like Star Wars or Harry Potter or The Matrix, etc. So you've got your scale levels there as well. You can measure the units on and count them. Next. And there's another way to look at it. You've got your units on different scale levels. Sentences make up paragraphs. Bigger unit is a page, bigger unit is a chapter, and then there's the whole book. So here's a general statement. The structure and function of the unit of anything is the fractal whole on parton. It's a one-size-fits-all scientific and mathematical solution. So you can plug in anything there. Physics, chemistry, astronomy, geology, biology, psychology, sociology. There's story or narrative down the bottom, which is what that paper focused on. But everything's made of culture, energy and matter, or information, energy and matter in this universe anyway. So you can see where the culturology comes from in Ev Cult. Evolutionary information really, but it's kind of the next step above things like evolutionary psychology, evolutionary sociology. Then you've got to start looking at information in every domain. So then we go back to the giants of information theory, Shannon and Norbert Wiener, and etc. Well, sad to say, this is the end of part 1. Thank you again, ISSS. To be continued in part 2, the other 40 minutes. Thanks so much again, Gary, ISSS, and everyone. Really appreciate this opportunity to talk about that paper. And the ethicizer, thanks you. I come in peace and cooperation, bearing gifts from the almighty ethicizer. And by the way, if there's a Q&A, something I find useful is to let me know if you think it's a System 1 question or a System 2 question, as in if you're new to Ev Cult, you can say this is a System 1 question, insert question here, or this is a System 2 question if, say, you've read the Ev Cult textbooks and read the blog and you've had a bit of experience with Ev Cult. It's just an interesting way to know where to pitch my answer, whether it's sort of new learner of Ev Cult or someone who's moved up the ranks through the levels of learning. And you can ask any questions of my digital twin as well. It's probably got a better answer than me on the Ev Cult GPTs there, that link down the bottom. So if I don't get to all the questions, feel free to ask away to any of the Ev Cult GPTs if you subscribe to ChatGPT 4. Thank you again very much.